What if one simple wire could stop mold forever? What if something as simple as a thin copper wire could help slow down mold growth in your home? It sounds strange, almost too simple to be real, but there's actually some science behind it. Before you spend hundreds on chemicals and cleaning products, this small trick might surprise you. Mold is one of the most frustrating problems homeowners deal with. It appears quietly, spreads quickly, and often comes back even after cleaning. Many people don't even realize how serious it can become until it's too late. It doesn't just damage your walls. Mold can also affect air quality and create an unhealthy living environment. That's why finding a long-term solution is so important. Most people try strong cleaning chemicals first. Sprays, bleach, and expensive products promise quick results. And yes, they can remove surface mold temporarily. But here's the problem. In many cases, the mold comes back within days or weeks. That's because the root cause is still there, hidden beneath the surface. So instead of just cleaning what you see, you need something that helps stop mold from growing in the first place. That's where this unusual copper trick comes in. Copper has been used for centuries for its natural antimicrobial properties. It can help reduce the growth of bacteria and certain types of fungi. When exposed to moisture, copper releases ions that can interfere with how mold grows and spreads. This is why it's used in some medical and industrial applications. But interestingly, very few people use this simple idea at home. It's not widely talked about, even though it's cheap and easy to try. So, let's break it down step by step and see how this actually works in a real home setting. The first step is identifying where the mold is forming. This is usually in areas with high moisture, bathrooms, kitchens, or corners with poor airflow. Before using any method, lightly clean the surface. You don't need to remove everything, just reduce the visible mold so the treatment can work better. Now take a small piece of copper wire. It doesn't need to be anything special, just clean, exposed copper. Place or attach the copper near the affected area. The goal is to keep it in contact with moisture where mold tends to grow. As humidity builds up, copper begins interacting with the environment. This is where the process slowly starts. Over time, the copper releases tiny ions that affect mold growth. This doesn't happen instantly. It's a gradual process. This is not a dramatic overnight transformation. Instead, it's a subtle shift that becomes more noticeable over time. And that's what makes this method different. It works with the environment instead of just covering up the problem. But remember, this is just one part of the solution. For best results, it needs to be combined with proper ventilation and moisture control. Most people ignore the real cause of mold, moisture. Even if you clean the surface, mold will return if humidity stays high. That's why controlling moisture is the first step. Without fixing that, no hack will ever work long-term. Ventilation is just as important. Poor airflow traps moisture inside your home, creating the perfect environment for mold to grow. Even a simple window or fan can make a huge difference over time. Sunlight is one of the most underrated natural mold killers. Mold thrives in dark, damp places. Exposing affected areas to sunlight can slow down its growth significantly. If you combine sunlight, airflow, and low humidity, you already reduce most mold risks. The copper trick works best when used alongside these conditions, not as a replacement. One of the biggest mistakes people make is using strong chemicals without understanding the root problem. It might look clean for a day or two, but mold comes back stronger. Bleach is often used, but it doesn't fully kill mold roots on porous surfaces like wood or drywall. It only cleans the surface, leaving the deeper problem untouched. That's why temporary fixes fail. You need something that affects the environment itself, not just what you can see on the surface. Copper works differently. Instead of covering mold, it disrupts its growth at a microscopic level. That's what makes this trick interesting. However, this is not a miracle solution. It can help reduce mold growth, but it won't completely eliminate severe infestations. So it's important to set realistic expectations. Use this as a support method, not your only solution. In small mold cases, This trick can be surprisingly effective, especially in corners, bathrooms, or areas with minor dampness. But if the mold covers a large area, you'll need deeper cleaning or professional help. Ignoring it can damage your home structure over time. Health is another important factor. Mold exposure can affect breathing, especially for children and sensitive individuals. That's why prevention is always better than removal. Once mold spreads, it becomes harder and more expensive to control. Using simple methods like airflow, sunlight, and copper can significantly reduce your risk if applied early. This approach is low cost, simple, and easy to try, which makes it perfect for everyday use. Over time, you may notice a visible difference in mold growth, especially in controlled environments. The key is consistency. Small improvements over time create long-term results. So instead of relying only on expensive solutions, combining simple science with good habits can go a long way. If you found this useful, try it yourself and see the difference. Sometimes the simplest ideas work best.